Hello, and welcome to the Rita Ellen Mirchandani Show. My name is Rita, and I'll be your host today. I'm so excited to welcome you here to talk about Chakra 4.5, also known as the High Heart Chakra. Now, if you've never heard of this chakra and you're like, what is going on? You are not alone. This was me about a year ago, almost exactly. I first learned about this chakra, Chakra 4.5, when I was at a meditation conference and we were doing this laying down meditation. And in this meditation, I had an experience where this being came and pointed to this part of my body. And when they pointed there, they said, you need to learn about this. And I got the feeling that there was some energy center there. So after the meditation, I Googled, is there a chakra or something in between your throat and your heart? And sure enough, the Chakra 4.5 name was written, and so was the High Heart. So those are where I got the names. I found them on Google. But the experience of finding this has been very interesting in what it has shown me. I also want to just say that while primarily most of us know of 7 chakras, there are so many more chakras available to us. So if that's surprising, you can do a little bit fun of Google searching separate of this, but today we're going to be focusing primarily about the High Heart Chakra and how it can expand our lives. So first, I want to say, if you're here, your high heart probably called you here. Our high heart is located right here. So let me take my necklace out. It actually lands exactly where the high heart belongs. So if you feel your chest right here, there should be like a little bit of a tiny bump. And this is where our thymus gland is. Some can't feel it as much, some can feel it a lot more. You don't want to push against it, you just want to gently kind of find it. That is the actual location of our high heart. I also want to say, before we go any further, this is not medical advice. This is not anything that I am prescribing to you. This is a simple exploration on what it might mean. Now, the thymus gland, if you Google it, you can see what it is responsible for in our health. A big part of it is that it helps to fight off and understand, from what I understood of it, disease and things that might not be for our highest good in our body. So such as cancer, it helps to filter it out. So if you think of what the meaning of that part of our body, how it functions, that often tells us quite a bit about how, on a more emotional, spiritual level, what kind of work it's doing. When I first tapped into the high heart, and when I've helped others to tap into the high heart, there can be this sort of resistance. Almost a feeling of disconnect. So if that happens to you, that's okay. But what the high heart is here to show us is, if you think of our heart, what is the purpose of our heart, right? It's love. It is really the truth of who we are. And if you think of the throat, that is the expression of who we are. So our throat expresses to the world who we are. If you think of those two things, the high heart is the bridge between that. It is the authentic expression of who we are from our heart's desire. Now, the throat speaks. It has a voice. There's something that's being projected out. The high heart literally protrudes a little bit out of our body. If we think about that, the way I see the high heart is it is a vibration being sent out. And it is there to help us to connect these chakras. Because this is where we kind of go from like, oh, I kind of feel something, I like it, to like, I'm telling the freaking world, this is how it is. Your high heart, as I see it, is where peace resides. I have a big chill on that. If you think about it, I don't know another chakra where peace resides. The heart, somewhat, but the high heart is where It's really embodied peace. A full knowing of where to go, what to do. That is the high heart's function. The high heart, when you begin to build trust with it, has the ability to help deep human emotions be processed in a way that we may not normally know how. The high heart sort of functions that way. It helps what we may not even be able to put into words, our heart simply will break at the thought of. That is the high heart. It helps to encapsulate all of that. Now, is it working for us even if we don't know it exists? Of course. But it is the same way where we begin to evolve and expand our spiritual journey if we learn to tap into that more. If your voice and heart were fully expressed, who would you be? Just think about that for a moment. Who would you be? And for a moment, I want you to think of something you really want, but feels really scary to express. It could be, I want a divorce. It could be, I want to have a baby. It could be, I want to move to another country. I want to go study what I never studied. Something that your heart knows you desire, but it feels scary. I want to be a millionaire. And go ahead and voice it out loud and just notice if you feel resistance. That is where the high heart comes in of like, can I communicate the desire with speaking it out? So, it helps us to become confident in our desires. In a way, it feels like the solar plex, which the solar plex is all about ourself, self-identification, how we see ourselves in the world. But the high heart is all about, from a soul level, expression. So the solar plex is a little bit also more about how our human expresses. There is a real dissolving of the lies that we keep about ourselves in the high heart. The thing about these 3 chakras is that it's very hard to lie. So our heart will say, leave your job. And our mouth will say, well, I'm fine here for another year and I don't need to leave, okay? There's a disconnect. Whatever's happening here is not being expressed here. Our heart will say, don't go on that date. And this will say, yeah, I'd love to go out again. There's somehow a disconnect between what we really believe and what we really are and how we express. That is the function of the high heart, but it can be as simple as like people pleasing to really as vast as not living our life. When you think of the high heart, I almost invite you to imagine a mountain. And at the very peak of this mountain is all of your truths for all of this lifetime, all of your soul's desires. Your only reach is to fulfill them. When you lean into your high heart, you will feel supported. So I often think the disconnect from here to here is because it's too big of a leap. What if it's just here? Sorry, lower to here to here. Climbing the ladder. Leaping doesn't seem so scary then. So the leap now is my heart says this is the truth. Now, instead of the truth to voicing it, which can seem scary, it's the truth. How does my soul envision this and feel this? And where am I going with this? And what's the deepest, deepest, deepest truth about what my heart has just told me? And then we speak it. So you're essentially giving yourself extra support into this next part of your legacy. I think that's why we spend so much time avoiding. The high heart is not loud. It is very quiet. And I think that's why, I had never heard about it until a year ago. So many of us have never heard about it. Because it waits. It waits. Similar to, someone who you just know you're going to be with that person. You just know you're going to marry that person, or you just know that book is going to get written. The high heart is kind of similar to that. It waits until you're ready. It will not call you. It will not lower itself for you. You have to come up to it. In many ways, it's like a little compass, because it literally points out of your heart. It's a compass leading you forward. Also, I read what are some of the symptoms of a thymus, again, not medical advice, but potential issue. And one of them was an inability to breathe. So we know in spirituality how important the breath is. I mean, we know this in science too, how we need to breathe to live, but we also know that breath regulates our nervous system. So even when someone is public speaking, for example, and they're not able to catch their breath, where's the disconnect between your heart and your throat? What is your truth trying to reveal that is not coming out? Lean into that. Or when you have to make a hard decision and you feel like they're not connecting, lean into the high heart. That's where you'll find a lot of support. What I feel when I tune into mine is I can feel my heart when I breathe in. I feel it click into place in my thymus almost. I don't know if that's the physical thing that's happening, but it feels energetically like it happens, and that pushes it up to my throat. So ideally, we can have this heart-centered thought. Go ahead and pick yours now, whatever it is, and feel it coming up and being expressed out, if that feels safe. There is so much to explore around this chakra. If you're here, I doubt there's any coincidences. Take your time to really delve into what that chakra means to you. You can talk to it. Say, hello, high heart. And it'll either be like, oh my gosh, welcome, you finally found me. Or it'll be like, I've been waiting for you. Or it'll say, I'm angry at you because you've been ignoring me. You'll get one of those responses. Or you and I have been in connection and now you're just kind of knowing what you've been doing. But a lot of the time, work with chakras can feel heavy. In my experience, the high heart is there to elevate us. It doesn't feel as heavy. So Lean into that. Lean into your edge with your high heart. And notice where it wants to take you. Often the throat is one of the hardest chakras to really open up for many at first. Then it becomes a flowing dialogue. If you are struggling with the throat, this is really gonna, I hope, aid that. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and you got some insights on your high heart. And um, yeah, I hope that it catapults you where you need to go in a very loving and authentic way. Sending you so much love from my high heart to yours.